President Trump says that he'll address the nation on the strikes from Mar-a-Lago later this morning. Right now, it's quiet in the capital of Caracas just hours after the strikes, but earlier explosions rocked Venezuela, knocked out power, and sent people running outside.
Good day, everyone. The issue we're going to discuss today is the Venezuela. So part one, let's discuss the situation. First, the basics. The California militia system, and any militia, is fundamentally a defense organization. As individuals, whether we support or oppose the president's moves, these events ripple straight into our communities. That's why, as members of California's unorganized militia, the state's Treasury Defense Force, we must stay prepared and informed. Clarity isn't an optional, it's essential for our readiness. Today, I'm breaking down the facts on President Trump's actions in Venezuela and why Congress dropped the ball. Using reliable resources, let's clear the air. While Congress had every tool to follow due process after being notified, they choose publicity stunts over re-election. So what's strange and wrong here? The same familiar faces flood Twitter, now X, and mainstream media whining about how Trump launched an illegal war. They cry foul, but what do they actually do? Nothing substantial. They could have reacted immediately, in line with the law, introducing resolutions, holding emergency votes, or challenging it in court right after notification. Instead, crickets and binding steps. By staying silent or slow walking, they are either complicit in the act or exploiting the drama for their own gain. Fundraising, headlines, you name it. These very same faces are publicly calling on the military to disobey orders.
I'm Senator Alyssa Slotkin.
Senator Mark Kelly.
Representative Chris DeLuzio.
Congresswoman Maggie Goodlander.
Representative Chrissy Houlihan.
Congressman Jason Crow.
I was a captain in the United States Navy.
Former CIA officer.
Former Navy.
Former paratrooper and Army Ranger.
Former intelligence officer.
Former Air Force.
We want to speak directly to members of the military
And the intelligence community.
Who take risks each day
To keep Americans safe.
We know you are under enormous stress and pressure right now.
Americans trust their military.
But that trust is at risk.
This administration is pitting our uniformed military,
And intelligence community professionals
against American citizens.
like us. You all swore an oath.
To protect and defend this Constitution.
And right now, the threats to our Constitution aren't just coming from abroad,
But from right here at home.
Our laws are clear. You can refuse illegal orders.
You can refuse illegal orders.
you must refuse illegal orders.
No one has to carry out orders that violate.
Without following due process themselves, recall Nancy Pelosi's own words on past events, labeling them as insurgency and uprising to overthrow the government. If only she knew better and applied that same fire here. And Senator Schiff's active theatrics? All drama, no decisive action, just more posturing to keep the spotlight. In any case, where are the representatives we elected? Once notified about the hostilities and our military's involvement, where is the real reaction? All we get is political grandstanding, endless balcony speeches just to point fingers and chant, "It's all his fault." This isn't oversight, it's theater. Our communities deserve better. Accountability that protects us, not divides us. It's time to demand more from Congress. Stay vigilant, California. Share this if you're ready for real answers. The primary regulation governing the timelines for the presidential military actions abroad, including the recent US operation in Venezuela that resulted in the capture of Nicolás Maduro, is the War Powers Resolution of 1973, also known as the War Powers Act, codified at 50 USC, paragraphs 1541 to paragraphs 1548. This law was enacted to check executive power in committing U.S. forces to hostilities without congressional approval in response to concerns over Vietnam-era escalations. It applies when the president introduces U.S. armed forces into hostilities or situations where imminent involvement in hostilities is clearly indicated. Other potentially relevant regulations include Intelligence Authorization Act under the 50 U.S.C. paragraphs 3091 till 3094, which require prior notification to the Gang of Eight by partisan congressional leaders and intelligence committee heads for sensitive covert actions. This may apply if the Venezuela operations involved classified intelligence or covert elements, as suggested by reports of planning notifications dating back to June 2025. However, if the action is deemed overt military engagement, the War Powers Resolution takes precedence. National Emergencies Act, 50 U.S.C., paragraphs 1601 till paragraph 1651, and International Emergency Economics Power Act, IEEPA, which is 50 U.S.C., paragraphs 1701 till 1708, which have been cited in prior Trump-era sections against Venezuela, but do not directly apply to kinetic military strikes like the recent one. These require prompt notification to Congress upon declaring an emergency with semi-annual reports thereafter, but they lack the strict 60-day withdrawal clock of the War Powers Resolution. So let's go through notification timelines for the president. Under the War Powers Resolution, the president must submit a written report to Congress within 48 hours of introducing U.S. armed forces into hostilities or imminent hostilities. This report must detail the circumstances, legal authority, and estimated scope, duration of the involvement. The law encourages, but does not strictly mandate, consultation with Congress before action, stating the president shall consult with Congress in every possible instance. Critics of the Venezuela strike argue that Trump failed to adequately consult beforehand, making the action potentially unlawful. The follow-up reports are required, at least every 6 months for ongoing deployments. In the Venezuela case, the strike appears to have occurred as reported on January 3rd, 2026 at 2 o'clock in the morning Eastern Standard Time. The public was first notified of the U.S. operation in Venezuela, which resulted in the capture of the Nicolás Maduro on January 3rd, 2026 at 0421 in the morning Eastern Standard Time. Congressional response timeline. The War Powers Resolution does not impose a fixed response deadline on Congress, but sets firm limits on executive action to force congressional involvement. A 60-day clock begins upon the submission of the 48-hour report, or when it should have been submitted if delayed. U.S. forces must be withdrawn by the end of this period unless Congress declares war or enacts specific statutory authorization for the use of the military forces, example, via an authorization for use of military force or AUMF. The president can request a one-time 30-day extension totaling in 90 days if necessary for the safe withdrawal of forces. Congress can act at any time to direct withdrawal via a concurrent resolution, not subject to presidential veto, though this provision's constitutionality has been challenged in court. In practice, Congress often uses privileged procedures for expedited consideration of such resolutions. For the Venezuela operation, the 60-day clock would likely end around nearly March 2026. If Congress passes a disapproval resolution and Trump vetoes it, the action's legality could hinge on whether Congress overrides the veto, requiring 2/3 majority in both chambers or on potential court challenges. As always, be safe, keep your head on a swivel. Good luck.